Good evening. Welcome to midterm. It's week 4, and this week you're covering chapters 10 through 12 towards earning your yellow belt. And happy to say that we've got 2 students already that have earned yellow belts. They're doing a great job. So I can't do a better job than SSGI does in presenting their material, and they're easy to follow along. So we don't need to do follow me through the slideshow drill, but there was a one particular slide that I thought was, if I can get this to quit talking, I thought that was pretty easy to follow along here. Was showing the variance in the job or the customer satisfaction for this car business. I'm going through that with my daughter's car right now. She has a Volkswagen. I haven't owned one of those since I was stationed in Germany, but it's very hard to find parts and very expensive when you do find them. So I'm enjoying that part of helping my 16-year-old get her stuff going back again. So what we got is the average of what the customer satisfaction was, and then it follows through to the next months to get, I think I want that, to get the range for each of those different months. So looking at the high and low customer satisfaction, it is improvement, shrinks down to where over in March that vertical line is much shorter, and it's easy to see the average in the middle, how it moves up each of the months, and there's more of a trend towards an improvement there. So this is just one of the different charts that you can use to track progress and improvements. This second one that they talk about here is the XY chart, and it has inputs that you're trying to measure, and then based on the inputs, we'll rate the outputs and find out what part of a process needs some improvement, or where do we need to focus our most of our energy and our efforts. So this one was about a phone company, and they looked at the quality issues, and they thought that replacing the batteries and the quality of the tools and equipment that they had to use to repair the phones, and then the training offered when you got hired on there to be able to repair the phones. And then they started rating what input the skill of people that the new trainees would have. And so they found that those were the areas that they wanted to measure. And so next they looked at what they wanted to be the output, what they would have folks not having to return their phones for repair, so they called that returns, and then customer satisfaction, they were happy with their interaction with the company, and then that they got their phones back when they said they would, and then the likelihood that they would get like a 5-star review online for the job that they did for them. So they went through each of these different outputs, and they rated what they thought the priority would be for each of those outputs. So not having returned the phone, they gave that a 6 out of 10. Customer satisfaction, that was the most important, 10 out of 10. About even on whether they got the phone fixed when they said they would, and it was pretty important, like a 7. Some places would probably rate this a 10 on how high the review would be as a priority, a 5-star review. So what they did is when they got the extent of the relationship, and all of these across the top, these levels of importance, that's all based on what the manager or the person that's trying to do the improvement, they set those priorities or those levels. So it's all subjective. And then when we look at the correlation of the input to the output, it's a 10 is a direct, strong correlation, and 1 has nothing to do with it. We can actually put a number in here. So when we looked at the surveys, the battery failing the phone was linked to them having to return something to the phone. It was like a 7 out of 10. And then the battery in relation to customer satisfaction was like an 8 out of 10. The battery in relationship to on-time return of the phone after they fixed it was a 2 out of 10. And then the battery in correlation with how high their review would be got a 9 out of 10. So they assign those same numbers to tools for new technicians, training for new hires, and the skill level of the new hire employees. They place an importance in each one of these different levels to come up with a way that we're going to multiply it. So see where we have a 7 and a 6 here. We got a 3 and a 6. We got a 9 and a 6. And we got a 5 and a 6 under returns. So you're going to multiply those when we go across to find out what the battery had as far as an issue on quality. And so if we go all the way across, we go, the battery was 6 times 7 plus 8 times 10 plus 5 times 2 plus 7 times 9 equals 195. And so the higher the number, it's a weighted impact or the weighted importance on that particular area that we need to focus on. The higher the number is where we put the focus, because it can give us the most bang for the buck on improving something. So tools, lowest one, it only had an 84. But right next to the batteries was how we train the technicians to do the job. It's 177 right after 195. So that would be our second priority. And then the third priority would be hiring people that already have the skills. So this lets us look at the XY, lets us look at our inputs, what different levels we want to measure quality with. And then when we add those together, we can come up with which one of these is the most important. And that's where we're going to put all of our training, our funding, all of our time into it. So that chart is how you can identify an area that you can make the biggest impact as far as process improvement. And there's a downloadable template to help you use that tomorrow if you wanted to. In chapter 11, the control charts, they've got a download for that too. Let me pause this. And without reading every slide to you, it basically is showing people's reaching the call center. And there is like a bracket that there's an average. We want them to be on and off the phone and taken care of within a number of minutes. We don't want them waiting to talk to an operator or somebody that's on a helpline. We don't want them doing that very long. And so we've got this target represents, we want them to be on and off the phone within like 82 seconds. And this has got each of the months, how long they were on the phone, how many calls came in. And if we look at every month, depending on if we had more sales or more problems, there would probably be more traffic with the customer helpline. And so this is showing us how we would take this data and interpret it as to whether there was a time during the year that it was most notable, or whether we're doing an okay job. So we have a target, and what that is that's the ideal, that's the middle of what the time is spent taking care of the customer. You have a lower control limit, and so anything that was within 70 seconds to 82 seconds, that's the lower end. Anything that was from 82 to 95, that's the upper end. In other words, if it's between 70 seconds and 94 seconds, that's fine. We did what we were supposed to do. So if you looked at this and it was like a nail, and this nail was supposed to be 3 inches long, and it's right in the middle there, but people could still use it to hold a 2-inch board and a 1-inch board together if it was a little bit longer. And they could also use it to hold a 1-inch board and a 2-inch board together if it's just a little bit shorter. So let's just say if it was a 1/4 inch either way, here's 3 inches, 3 inches and a quarter, or 2 inches and 2.75 inches. So as long as it falls somewhere in between there, that's like good enough for that to still be used. And so we got the lower control limit and we got the upper control limit. Now, if there is any time that it goes beyond that, right now, that control limit means that that we're okay, that we're operating within this average bracket and there's not any real problems there. But if you ever go outside of it, down here, it looks like it almost did in April where it dropped down. But because this was a less time spent on the call, that's a good thing. We answered their questions a lot quicker. But if it was up here in the upper control limit where it took a lot more than 92 seconds, that would be an area we'd have to go back and say, well, what happened in November? Okay, we had all these Christmas sales and there was a lot of people calling in about how to put together our product or whatever. And we just got our helplines flooded. So that could be a seasonal thing where we need to bring more people in. So this is how we have a stable system or one that is in stability, keeping it within that upper and lower control limits. And you'll use that sometimes when we're trying to refine something. The higher the quality is, the smaller that limit is, as closer it is. If you've got something like you're making hula hoops and they don't have to be exactly perfect every time, then your upper and lower control limits will be a lot wider gap there to be able to stay within that stability. So the last chapter, just a brief overview, is how we measure the variation. And that's that gap between average upper lower control and lower control level. And this is talking about putting together shoes. You guys went through the slides. I don't want to bore you by repeating the whole story, but there's 2 processes here. And there's a difference in how long it takes to put the shoes together based on which process you choose. So let's see, I'm all the way at the end there, you know. So the variation could be, this talks about standard deviation here. Let's see. The longest caller waits from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. is 20 minutes, and the shortest is 3 minutes. The range is 20 minus 3 or 17 minutes. And when we looked at those first charts, that line that was going vertical, that is the range. So it's from the best to the worst or whatever, it's that bracket that we talked about. And in the second chapter, that upper and lower control levels, that's a range. And so we're going to work on how to decrease the range so we can get less variation. Because clearly the wider the range, the greater the variation. And we've learned that if we want to shorten that range, if we want to get it within the same stability, it's probably going to have to be something we have to spend money or time to inspect it, or more data collection to make sure that we are staying within that range. It's standard deviation is the most preferred for several reasons. Standard deviation takes every item into consideration, not just the extreme values. So when you had that range, you got the upper and lower control. Standard deviation takes all the data, everything went outside of that range, everything was within the control, and it gets you a much cleaner ideal of what that looks like. And I don't know if I can get my whiteboard to work. Maybe I'll have that set up so we can use it next time. But what we're looking at is, and when we get into the chapter on standard deviation, we'll get a little bit closer to that. But let's say that this is the data that we're talking about. We've got this bell shape, and the standard deviation is how far is it from the center or the average. And so if you have a small deviation, then your standard deviation, let's say it's just going to be a +3 or a -3 from the center. And so that's a good looking control. Everything is in a smaller range of 6, 3 before or 3 after. And say that the range is, something happens where you're a little bit off your game, or there's more data, or there's a change in how you do something, and now your standard deviation from the middle goes up to 6. And now your range is a 12. It's 6 below or 6 above, that upper and lower control with the middle. And so if we look at the deviation from the center, what we're trying to do with Six Sigma is move it from something that's way down here where there's a lot of deviation and a lot of range, to where it's up here and there's very little deviation and variability and a very small range. So this product that's produced in this type of an atmosphere is probably all going to be very close to the same. A product in this atmosphere down here, there could be parts missing or stuff that's oversized and wouldn't fit inside of the engine or whatever. So what we're doing with the quality control in Six Sigma is we're trying to control this variation by recognizing that there is one and how bad it is, and then starting to work on ways to take it away or control it. And so this one talks about putting 2 different processes for putting the shoes together. And the standard deviation of 1 is 5 minutes. So let's just say that's on this 3 line here. It could be 2.5 on both sides. And so about every time they do it, it's 40 minutes. It's either 42.5 or 37.5. So that 5 minutes is the standard deviation. And then it says the second process, it takes 40 minutes, but the standard deviation is 10 minutes. So it wouldn't be up here in this top level of the variation. It'd go down a couple to where there was a 5 on each side instead of 2.5 on each side. So it's twice as many times. It could be more than 40 minutes. It could be 50 minutes. But then there's twice as many times that it could be 30 minutes. It could be 10 minutes less than the average 40 that we're shooting for. So in some cases, this process line here wins most of them because they've got the deviation down to just 5 minutes. Whereas at this one, they could have people who just work real fast, or they work themselves and burn themselves out, and then they start slowing down, and it takes longer than 40 minutes to put the shoe together to get that average of 40 minutes. And so let's just say that I only had 20 minutes. I want to see how many pairs of shoes they got done. This one could actually, that only takes 30 minutes, could have stuff almost finished better than the one that is taking the 5 minutes before or after. But would it be done right? What we find out is that the smaller the deviation, the smaller the time difference is, the higher the quality. And so that second method they're using to make the shoes probably has a lot of stuff that's not done right, and you'll have some rejects out of it. So quality plays into this too when we look at how much deviation is involved in it. Okay, so that was our 3 chapters that we had to cover and take quizzes on for the week. And I understand we're not in here for 2.5 hours. I could have some virtual type assignments that we could watch videos, or we could go through some preparatory stuff for your actual course exam, or we could take a look at some of the different ideals that we have from the 5S project. I think we've got a couple of those that's been turned in. Let me see if I can just give you a preview of some of that. I thought those were pretty good. Let's see. Everybody is looking good for their midterm grade. I think we got A's, and like 2 people that I just haven't been able to get to come to class. It's the only issue, but everybody else is working ahead, or they've already took their yellow belt, or they've turned in their project. I think, Caleb, are you on here with us? I think I seen you sign in, didn't I? Let's see who our participants are here. Yeah. Can I show them your 5S project? Let me unlock you so you can talk. Okay. I think it's an outstanding project. I'd like to just show it as an example, if you don't mind me doing that. You can type in the chat box, hell no, or something right now if you can't get your mic to work. But I will proceed until you tell me to stop. Okay. So let's see if I can get his to come up. All right. So here's what the first S5 project looks like that's came in. And it's on a garage storeroom. And you can see that he has identified the name of his project, and he put the 5 steps for the 5S. So he told what he was going to do, organize his garage storeroom. Started off with sorting out what he was going to keep, and he's got a tag up here, so he's probably got a destination for that. What he's going to sell, what he's going to donate, what he's going to toss in the can. So you're going to go through and sort out where things are going to go back into your process. And then you're going to get set in order. And in his case, he hung up pegboards and shelves to be able to have the stuff where you could still see it. And then the third step with pictures really does help tell what's going on here. Shine is where you're going to clean everything up. You're going to make sure that it's all the cables are rolled up. You can see that on his pressure washer and stuff. You might want to use tape to tape bulky stuff together where it doesn't fall all over the place. But he hung everything up where you could see it and put it back in the same place. Sometimes people actually outline tools to where they know that that's the tool that goes back in that particular place. And then you got to standardize like a checklist. It says, hey, once a week I'm going to do this, and this is how you communicate with other people that's going to use that same space, to try to keep it as organized as it is already. And he did a good job with this little checklist here. And here he's typed in what's on that checklist. If you move anything in the garage, put it back where you got it. There we go. Don't add anything to it unless it's necessary. I find that's probably my problem. I have something organized and I just keep stacking stuff on top of it. And then it's sustained. This is where you're going to come back and you might say, hey, thanks for putting my tools back where they were. And you're going to check it like every month or so to make sure it's still there. You've got the first Saturday in a month, you're going to check it. But it's to go back and see if there's something else you want to improve on, or if it's still is squared away, shined up, and it's been sorted out as it was the day you started it. So he's got his before and after pictures here. It's pretty dramatic, the change there. And he got something done probably he's been wanting to do at home for a while, and he got 350 points. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to enjoy what your project's about and earn some college credit while you're at it. So thank you for letting us share that. And we can also share that we got 2 people that got through the yellow belt. And again, that's available to you to take anytime you like. Trying to get out of this screen. Let me pull it away. So it's available anytime you'd like to do it, if it's 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and you can take it as often as you like. So I think we got a couple of you that are up into like the 18th or 19th chapter. You get to chapter 23, that's all the stuff that's going to be on the exam. And so then you can look at the 23 and 24. It tells you how to convert this into a green belt and keep working your way up through the different levels of the quality and the lean certifications. So taking a look at next week, let me pull this up here. We've got, let's look in the modules. We ended on 12 this week, and we got midterm. that we will be posting grades sometime tomorrow. I've got everything caught up except what you folks did last night and today. So I'll catch that up and turn those in for midterm. But after the 4th, we meet again on the 5th of July. We've got normal distribution, concept of Six Sigma, and sampling. Those are all very interesting. And I would like you to have some idea where you're at on your 5S project, because in module 6, we are going to be talking about the DSM assignment where you make the peanut butter and jelly sandwich and you record it. And so you can log down each one of the steps, how long it took. And then we can figure out how long it would take to do the second peanut butter and jelly sandwich without taking the stuff out, opening it up, getting knives and table plates and all that stuff. It would be significantly less. So we go to mod 5 next week. Got those 3 chapters, mod 6, 16, 17, and 18 in the VSM. Mod 7, we finish up all the stuff that you need for the requirements of taking the exam. And then mod 8, you're actually going to take the exam. And if you haven't by then, you're going to turn in your 5S project. I would recommend you get that thing knocked out so you can just work on your certification. So we're halfway done, folks. And I do like that you are staying up with your yellow belt assignments. And this is less of a clutter in the virtual class than if you were taking this online. Oh my God, before folks out there are doing discussion boards out the wazoo, they're doing papers. It's just distracting when you're not working on something that's getting you your yellow belt. That's what we focus on in our courses on campus and virtually, is getting our students that certification that's embedded in that course. And if you haven't heard, we are running a beta for operations management in Indianapolis. And so far, out of the 10 students in that class, 2 of them have already earned their certification in operations. So it's going extremely well. Prior to this beta, there was no certification embedded in the course. So it's working out that we can offer you all the things that you need to know about it and earn the certification. And Chris Reidner is also working a beta out in the fall for supply chain, the Logistics 227. That's the other course that didn't have a certification in it. He got a SC Pro to let us run a beta with them, and we're going to be able to add all of our classes will have certifications after we get operations and supply chain up and running with those embedded certifications. So you can take those virtually, or you can come to our campuses and do it. But statewide, we haven't ran it through their curriculum committee and got it accepted at all campuses yet. So you might want to ask your campus, if you want to take it on your campus, to offer a course that has the certifications in it. And that's how we get things updated, because students, your customer demands are what dictate change. So that's why we are moving forward with these new courses through the summer and the fall. All right, I'm going to hit stop on recording. I'll be here to answer any of your questions. And let's stop recording. There we go.